Boruto 2 Blue Vortex Chapter 22 Breakdown and Review. I've been waiting for this chapter for a while. So this chapter starts off with Mitsuki looking at the thorn bulb assembling, and Mitsuki says, "Alright Arya, you're gonna go grab it and I'm gonna deal with the claw grime, okay?" But then, out of one of the claw grime, Jura appears, and Mitsuki and Arya are like, "Whoa!" And Mitsuki's like, "That's the boss. That's the boss of the Divine Tree. He matches the description." And what's crazy is Jura gets out, but he doesn't go immediately for Ryu's thorn bulb. Instead, he's looking off into the distance, and Mitsuki's like, "What's going on? What's he looking at?" We cut over to Boruto and Konohamaru, and Boruto has just sliced and diced Matsuri, and Konohamaru is impressed. He says, "Wow, you did that with such ease, Boruto." And Boruto has to say that, like, "Well, she was already defeated thanks to you, Konohamaru. Otherwise, if she was at full strength, it wouldn't be that easy." So then Matsuri's thorn bulb starts to appear, and then Jura snipe shots one of the Biju bomb bullets at them, which he misses, thankfully. They don't repeat that. And so Boruto tells Konohamaru, "It's Jura. He shot at us. He missed." So Jura starts going like, "Ah, darn it, I missed. Here we go." And he starts flying towards Boruto and Konohamaru. And Konohamaru gets Matsuri's thorn bulb, and Boruto prepares for Jura. He throws around some shuriken, and Boruto has to tell Konohamaru, "Alright, take the thorn bulb and run. Run to where you first met the Sand Shinobi. And once you get there, get Sarda, get everybody all piled up there, and wait for further instructions, okay? You're gonna be just fine. So go." And Konohamaru does nothing. He just stands there and goes, he doesn't, oh my gosh, it pisses me off how much Konohamaru just does nothing. So then, Jura starts to speed up, and he's approaching them fast, and Jura shoots a Biju bomb right at them, and Boruto has to grab Konohamaru and fly away from the blast, holding him. So Boruto eventually gets out of the blast, and he throws Konohamaru as if to say, like, "Get a move on, now, hurry." And so Konohamaru finally does what he's told, and then he starts getting a run on. He gets the thorn bulb, and he starts running, and he runs past Jura, who does nothing. He doesn't stop him. He doesn't, like, try to get in his way. Nothing. He just lets him run past. So now, it's Boruto versus Jura. And Boruto comes up behind Jura and hits him with a Rasengan. And Jura responds with a Biju bomb right back at Boruto. He dodges using Flying Raijin and teleports to one of the shuriken he threw around earlier. Then, as Jura's falling, Boruto takes out his sword and swings it at Jura, and Jura, like, blocks it with one of his fingers. Like, they block it, they parry, and then they back off from each other, and Jura starts to compliment Boruto. He's like, "Flying Raijin, that's cool." And then he tells him that, "I'm getting so excited because he's fighting such a strong opponent." Then we cut over to Ada and Kashin Koji talking about Boruto fighting Jura, and Ada's impressed. She goes like, "He's holding his own. Are you really sure that Boruto doesn't have any chance against him?" And Kashin Koji has to confirm it and says, "Yes, Boruto can't win. And Boruto knows it by now." And Ada says, "Well, then he better get a move on and teleport away." And Kashin Koji says, "He can't, not even if he wanted to." So then Kashin Koji explains that the way that Boruto's Flying Raijin works isn't the same as Minato's. When it comes to long distance teleportation, there's some struggles behind it. If Boruto wants to teleport to a specific shape, it takes time for him to concentrate and focus and then teleport over there. And so when facing somebody like Jura, a really strong opponent, he's not going to have a second to focus or escape from him, really. And even if Boruto did teleport away, he would put everybody else at risk, like Konohamaru running away, Sarada, Mitsuki, Arya with the thorn bulbs. Jura would just go after them, get the thorn bulbs, and we'd be back at square one. So the way that Boruto's looking at it is, all he has to do is buy enough time to get everybody else safe. And so with that, Boruto is basically done for. Boruto and Jura start fighting a little bit more, and Jura tells Boruto basically, "Listen, you know why I'm here. I'm here to kill you. Because you know too much about us, Divine Tree, even though we were just born, like literally the other day." And so he says, "Who's your accomplice, Boruto? How do you know so much?" And then Boruto just doesn't answer, still keeping his mouth closed. And Boruto starts thinking about Jura's damage. He's like, he has to have taken damage from the Rasengan, but it doesn't look like it's affecting him at all. It looks like I'm going to have to use the Uzuhiko to take him down. And so Jura says, "Alright, the next question I have is based off pure curiosity." He asks him, "What is love?" And I couldn't help but think of the song as, "What is love? Baby, don't hurt me." Yeah. Don't hurt me no more. Oh my gosh. I like that song. Anyways, Jura explains that the way he sees love, it's a fatal weakness, a flaw in humans. Just like how Boruto showed up here to save his friends, knowing that he stood no chance against Jura, and he did it anyway. So it's because of love he got lured into his own death. And Jura starts to attack Boruto with his wood-style jutsu underground, and Boruto has to fly up into the air to dodge the attacks. And he says, as long as he's not on solid ground, he can't use the Uzuhiko. So he's trying to come up with another way. And then Boruto gets hit, he falls to the ground, and then he gets hit again with one of the wood-style attacks, and he gets trapped inside of the tree thing. Kind of like Himawari was. She just kind of got trapped. He got trapped in there. And as he fell, Boruto got separated from Sasuke's sword, or the sword that he's like borrowing. Jura picks up Sasuke's sword, and Boruto tells Jura, if you do anything to that sword, I'll give you a fate worse than death. And Jura says, alright, very simple. Tell us who your accomplice is, where they are, and this sword will stay in one piece. But either way, Boruto, you're dying. Right here. Right now. So, Boruto begins answering Jura's question about love. And he says, maybe it is a flaw. Maybe it is a huge weakness in us humans. But, in his own opinion, and in that very second, Boruto breaks out of the wood style using Rasengan Uzuhiko. And in his opinion, he says, it's why Jura and the other Shinju will never be anything more than trees. And so, Boruto uses Flying Raijin to Sasuke's sword, and he teleports behind Jura, and he hits him with Rasengan Uzuhiko, and he sends Jura flying forward. And Jura's starting to feel the effects. He's starting to see Boruto spin, and Boruto saying, feels like you're spinning, huh? It feels like you can't stop. You won't be able to move. You won't be able to fly. You won't be able to do anything. And then, in that moment, Jura's kind of like, huh? And then he negates the effects of Uzuhiko himself. So, Jura could do this because Uzuhiko follows the same principles as the Biju bombs, and therefore he was able to nullify its effects. And this is a good callback to the Minato one-shot, or the Minato chapter that Kishimoto made. There was like a popularity poll on the best, or the favorite Naruto character, and Minato won. And so Kishimoto wrote a one-shot chapter about Minato, and it was basically how Minato came up with the Rasengan, or how he created the jutsu. And if you don't know, it was based off of Kurama's Biju bomb, and that's how he was able to make the Rasengan. So it's cool that it's all coming into practice here, or it's all being shown off here a little bit, is that Rasengan Uzuhiko is a variation of the Rasengan. It uses the same principles as it, and the Rasengan is inspired by the Biju bomb, therefore Jura was able to nullify it or negate its effects. And so Boruto realizes that Uzuhiko isn't going to get the job done. Uzuhiko doesn't work on Jura. And that's where the chapter ends. And this chapter was crazy. Boruto is essentially fighting all on his own against Jura and trying to buy Konohamaru, Sarada, Mitsuki, everybody just enough time to escape. Who knows what's going to really happen? Is Kashin Koji going to teleport them to the village? I wonder how it's all going to work. It could be that Kashin Koji has a toad somewhere and it's going to teleport back to the village or whatnot. Something like that. I don't know. But it's really interesting to think about how much time does Boruto have and can he really withstand it as long as he can. And this is just against Jura. Imagine if the other Shinju decide to pop up, like Bug Shinju or Sasuke Shinju, Hidari and Mamushi. What if they decide to show up as well? It's not going to look too good by then. But this chapter was really, really cool. I think Boruto's just the star of the show, isn't he? He's just doing a great job carrying and protecting his friends. I think that there's a little bit more respect between Konohamaru and Boruto in this chapter. I think that Boruto showing up it really pushes everything forward. It makes the story more interesting, and it makes it for a more compelling or fun action sequences and whatnot. So I think it's really, really cool that Boruto showed up, and this is the circumstances that we're in now, But we'll have to see how much longer it takes for Konohamaru and the others to escape. I just really also like that Jura was able to negate the Uzuhiko's effects. because of the Bijou Bomb and Rasengan connection. I thought that was cool too, as a little bit of a, you know, expansion of like the whole world of Naruto and how certain jutsus come into being and whatnot. I also just think that the ending was hype. Boruto is now in a pinch where he can't basically teleport away, and his strongest technique doesn't work on the main bad guy. So what's left? You know, what else is Boruto holding back? And we'll have to see. We'll have to see what comes next. Maybe he pulls out a vanishing Rasengan and that does something, you know? It's going to be interesting to watch next chapter. And overall, I give this chapter an 8.9 out of 10. I so badly wants to be a 9, but it's missing a couple of other characters. Konohamaru doesn't do much. Sarada's out for the count. Mitsuki's kind of still there, holding on to her, and has to get the Thorn Bulb. So it's really just a Boruto and Jura chapter mixed in with Kashin Koji and Ada talking about his current predicament and why things are happening the way they are. So until next chapter, another month, we won't be able to know what happens next, but 8.9 overall. I thought this was a really great chapter, and I'm so excited to see what happens next, or what could happen next. How is Boruto gonna get out of this one? Because I don't see him dying, so we'll have to see. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Yeah.